guy out, and you turn the dial a little bit.
You know what I also think it is that
We interrupt this program
to bring you Vikings Bet Line, one show where you get to react to how the Purple played right away. Call in now with your thoughts on the game. 651-646-8255.
Is underneath Patterson, the former Viking. Left alone, and they're using Cordero Patterson all over the field, and he's good for 20. So second and goal. Handoff is to Devlin for the touchdown. His second of the year. Shut out so far. Brady throws, has Patterson, a bobble, and a catch, and a salute from Cordero Patterson. Here's one down the field for Robinson.
Turn the channel off. We can't show the broadcast.
Here's Devlin, gets another. His second of the game. And the Patriots open it up here in the fourth quarter, up by 2 scores.
All right, Vikings fans, there's good news. Yes, you lost to the Patriots 24-10. Yes, your team right now resides in the 7th spot in the NFC playoff picture, which means if the playoffs were to start today, which thank God for your sake and our sake they don't, you're out of the playoffs. But Mike McCarthy was fired and the Packers lost to the Cardinals. So that's the good news. They are far worse. The Vikings do suffer a disappointing loss today. 651-646-8255. 651-646-8255 in the metropolitan area. This is Vikings Bet Line. 877-615-1500. Zolgad, Manny Hill, Jonathan Harrison producing. Ross helping out as well as we stream this thing. We will get to the phone calls. Mike Chansey, you guys, we'll get to you in 1 second here because you are the stars of the show. But Manny, first, your thoughts on the fact that the Vikings still have not beaten a team in 2018 with a winning record.
And I think they are an offer at Gillette Stadium, if I'm not mistaken. The last time they beat the Patriots at all, I think, was in the old Foxboro Stadium in 2000. Mm-hmm. I think it was Belichick's first year. I mean, today we just saw the difference between the two teams, right? I mean, you have the Patriots have an all-time great quarterback in Tom Brady, who wasn't great today, but he made the throws when he needed to make them. I mean, the Vikings go down, tie the game at 10, and then the Patriots respond immediately by marching right down the field and getting a touchdown and going up 17-10. And from that point on, you just never really felt like the Vikings really had a chance. Even though it was still a one-possession game then, you just never really felt like the Vikings were going to be able to pull this one off.
That Patriots drive, by the way, after the Vikings scored, got the Dan Bailey field goal to make it 10-10, went 4 plays, 75 yards, 145 in the third quarter. They took the lead. Let's get right to the phone calls. Mike, what's going on? How are you?
Good. Hey, nice blue hoodie the other night at the Gopher game, Jed.
I was very tired, Mike. I was exhausted. Tip-off is too old for a 49-year-old man. I've determined that.
There shouldn't be one Viking fan that's upset or didn't know this was going to happen. Those two teams with those two rosters could play 100 times in that stadium, and the Vikings would literally not win one game. So you've got a 50-50 chance, I'm saying, for next week in Seattle. You know, even if you lose that game, you win your last 3. Carolina lost today, which was actually huge for the Vikings. Win your last 3 games, you're going to be in the playoffs. You're going to play either Chicago or Dallas. You can beat either one of those teams, and then from there, who knows. But that offensive line, if this guy does not draft or make trades to improve that damn offensive line next year, they do have the weapons. If you give Cousins some time, he's going to do it. And that was a great play call on that 4th and 11 to Treadwell again. I don't know how that didn't work.
What, and two, who on earth really believes that Treadwell on 4th and 11 is going to catch a short 4-yard pass and make a play?
Apparently Troy Aikman thought that.
We know the one thing we know, right, guys? The one thing we know about Laquan, even if we want to say he's not that bad, which he is for the most part, but let's say that we're giving him the benefit of the doubt. The one thing that we know about Laquan Treadwell is he really can't run very fast. So how the hell is he going to catch a 4-yard pass on 4th and 11 to make a play?
And I might be on the other side of your look at the bright side, Vikings fans. I want McCarthy to be there for Rodgers. Rodgers
not anymore.
There.
Fired today, so
they're going to hire somebody that might pull their head out of their ass, and they might get better.
All right, Mike. Thanks. Talk to you later.
That's a great call.
651-646-8255, 877-615-1500 are the numbers for Vikings Vet Line. Let's go to our buddy Chancey in Fargo. Hi, Chancey.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. I would agree with the previous caller. I don't think the result here tonight is a shocker, but it is pretty dang frustrating to see them go over in big games with the Saints, the Rams, the Bears. Now, this game tonight, I mean, I don't know how anybody really cares if they get in the playoffs except to keep our interest level going. They aren't going on a run to the Super Bowl. I actually agree with the previous caller. They could win a game, but there's no way they're winning 3 in a row, especially 2 on the road. Let me tell you guys this, and I'll preface this to start, right? I'm not saying that I think that Case Keenum is better than Kirk Cousins. I'm not saying that. In fact, if you asked me, I would say I think Kirk Cousins is better. But name me a game this year that Keenum would not have won that Cousins has. I haven't seen one. I cannot believe that you can upgrade the most important position on the football field, which everybody would agree is quarterback. Everybody would agree it, right? They've upgraded that position. Which game this year would they have lost with Keenum that they won with Cousins? There isn't one. So how much of an upgrade?
Hey, Chancey, Chancey, do you think that the only game that comes to mind slightly for me, possibly, Philadelphia?
Maybe. And I will give the other judge as a maybe. Right?
Okay.
He might have won that game, and Keenum might have lost it. But we are splitting hairs here as far as a quarterback upgrade. There is not that much of an upgrade. And like I said, I already stated, somebody else want to call in and ridicule me. I already stated I think Cousins is better. But by what degree? I mean, honestly, we have not made that much of an upgrade. The offensive line sucks. Everybody knows it. It sucked last year. It sucked 3 years ago with Sam Bradford. It has sucked forever, okay? So every quarterback we've been watching has been playing with these ridiculous offensive lines. I'll say one more thing.
Yep.
What would you guys be willing to give up for an elite kicker? Somebody that you could just trot out and just put 3 points on the board and bank it. Whether it's Zerline, I'm at the point I would trade a first-round pick for a kicker.
Oof.
This team can't figure it out.
Chancey.
It doesn't matter who they sign.
You're upset right now.
Yeah.
What?
You're upset.
You're upset right now. You're very upset.
No, I'm upset, but I'm tired of watching the kicking situation. I mean, Spielman, Prefer should be fired because they can't figure it out.
All right.
But, what else do you do? I don't know. How do you get a decent kicker?
I mean,
thanks, Chancey.
It's the one thing I will say on the Cousins Keenum thing is I don't know if Case Keenum brings you back and forces overtime against the Green Bay Packers in week 2, which ended up being a tie because Daniel Carlson couldn't make a kick to save his life.
Sure.
But I don't know if Case Keenum was able to bring you back. So that game probably would have been a loss. But to the point of the kickers, I mean, Dan Bailey statistically is one of the most accurate kickers in history.
Yeah, he was like the second most accurate kicker in NFL history when they signed him. They cut him because of money.
I think that we are now to the point where you have to take a long, hard look at your special teams coordinator, Mike Prefer. I think you're just at that point. Longwell came on after the Carlson game and gave us a pretty good play-by-play of why there might be issues there. And let's be honest. At one point we said, well, it's just Blair Walsh. Okay, that was just Blair Walsh. But then it was Kai, and Kai actually, in retrospect, never should have been let go. But he had these struggles with the longer extra points. Okay. Yep. So then it was sort of Kai had some problems. Then you got young Daniel Carlson, and he had a lot of problems.
And now he's doing okay in Oakland.
And today I believe he hit a 50-yard field goal attempt in Oakland, and he made like 3 out of 3 a couple weeks ago, and if I'm not mistaken, was the AFC Special Teams Player of the Week that week. The point being is I think we're now where you have to take a very long look at your special teams coordinator and say, is that where a change is necessary?
And by the way, on the kick that Bailey missed, why in the hell was Matt Wild the last guy on the field?
Somebody's going to ask that in the locker room, Manny, and we're going to pass that along as soon as we find out. Because if he went to the bathroom at that time, he picked a really poor time to do it. Hey, Ben in Florida. Go ahead.
Hey, guys.
I'm kind of like some of the middle school colors. I'm not upset at the result, and it's an AFC opponent, so it doesn't really go towards your NFC chase. And the Panthers lost today, and the Bears lost to the Giants, and that's probably ugly of the game. You'll see in a minute. I do have questions. You talk about the specialties coordinator. I really want to know why Dalvin Cook only had 9 carries, because I think he had about 80-something yards
84.
on those 84 yards on 9 carries.
Correct.
7-something yards a carry.
9.3 actually.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't run the ball enough in this game, even when it was close, because it was close all the way until the third quarter, and they just didn't run the ball. I don't know. Mike Zimmer's gonna, he's got to go back to Flip and say, why didn't you run the ball more? We were actually having success at it in this game. So that's the thing I really had a problem with that team, is they didn't run the ball enough, especially when the game was still close.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate the phone call. Here's what I don't get.
They ran the ball 13 times today.
Aikman and Joe Buck were talking about McCarthy being fired at the end of the telecast, and at one point, Aikman mentioned D. Filippo as a possible replacement. What on earth is leading anybody to consider this guy for a head coaching job right now? That absolutely has to stop right now. This guy's struggling with play calling. That's right. That's not wrong there.
What I don't get is, why is there so much steam on him being a head coach now? Is it just because he's an offensive coordinator? It seems like it has nothing to do with him being a good offensive coordinator right now. It just has to do, he's an offensive coordinator.
I think it's because the narrative, I think, came with him from Philadelphia, because he was the quarterbacks coach there, and they had won a championship, and Foles.
But why was there no steam on him then?
And so, I think the steps, the process was going to be, he was really good in Philadelphia, and now he's going to get to call plays in Minnesota and show himself. And Schumer, of course, just got the job from here, and so the thought was, oh my gosh, he's getting Kirk Cousins, and it's all going to be fantastic, and there should be talk about his job security here, not his job, not him getting a head coaching job. 651-646-8255. 877-615-1500. The show is Viking Ventline. I'm Judd. Manny Hill, Jonathan Harrison producing. Ross Brendel also helping out behind the scenes. And we go to Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Yep.
To your point earlier about the McCarthy job search and the Packers, I know the Packers are probably going to lean towards hiring a younger offensive mind, because that's been the trend in the league with McVay and Shanahan and Nagy. But my question is, if you're a young offensive mind, yes, you have the opportunity to coach Aaron Rodgers, but Rodgers, it seems like over the past few years, is not like the easiest person to get along with. And I just don't see how he reacts to this 35-year-old hotshot coming in and saying, I know what I'm doing, trust me, I can overhaul your career, when Rodgers has a body of work that says, well, look, I've been doing pretty well on my own, so I think I know what I'm doing, and there's a possible clash there. That can be discussed at a later point, but I guess my general thought on this game was, looking at the offensive line, there were just times in every game, it seems like, when, I think they were talking about this in the broadcast, where there's like 2 holding penalties that just kill drives. And they don't show up in the box score as like a pressure or a sack, but it kills the offensive mojo.
Sure.
And it feels like that happens every couple games for us, if not every game. And the other point is, the Packers don't really have a blue chip pass rusher. They have, I think, Trey Flowers is probably the best pass rusher, but every game it seems like the Vikings go up, whether it's Chandler Jones, I think there's Frank Clark next week in Seattle, Mike Daniels early on for the Packers. It doesn't seem like, this is a game where you don't have a blue chip pass rusher. You could theoretically establish your will on the offensive line, and they just get pressures or allow pressures on, it seems like, every drive. So just my thoughts, but curious to get yours. Thanks.
Thanks, Sam. I think you're exactly right. Yeah. I mean, we know this offensive line's not good. We warned them about this. This is not a second guess. Woe are the Vikings, because nobody saw this coming. Yeah. Kirk Cousins is who Washington told us he was. And I will admit, I'm a little surprised. Mm-hmm. I expected more there. There's been less than I expected. This does not make him a bust, but I've been surprised by that. And it sounds arrogant, but when you can sit here in July and say, what are you doing offensive line-wise? I can't then come back in December and say, well, I'm surprised by it. Right. We had these conversations. Yeah. Matthew Collar flat out told me in training camp, Tom Compton's not a starting caliber guy. Mm-hmm. Today he took 2 holding penalties on Cook runs that killed you.
Think about all the guys we've seen play offensive line for this team now this year. Tom Compton has been basically a regular starter at left guard. Rashod Hill has played on the right side at right tackle. He started a couple games at left tackle when Riley Reef was out. Rashod Hill is a backup tackle. That's what he should be. If you have a good offensive line, Rashod Hill is not starting on it. He's backing up. He's a very serviceable backup guy that you can plug in for a game or two if one of your tackles are out. But he's not a regular starter. You got Brian O'Neill, who is performing better than I think all of us anticipated, but he's still a rookie and still has rookie shortcomings.
And they fully admitted that he was going to be a project. The organization admitted that.
Right. And now you have Mike Remmers, who should be your starting right tackle, playing at right guard, and he's the best option you have there because you don't have anybody else that's better than him, and he's really not that good of a right guard. It's a mess.
Randy in Oakland, I look forward to this.
Well, to be honest, guys, I'm actually really calm after this one. I'm more so perplexed as how Matt Wild, the placeholder, was the last person on the field in the first half. It's like, was he drinking a bunch of Sam Adams to embrace New England? I don't understand what was going on there. Mike Prefer needs to go. That's coaching right there. Like, you need to be organized. Like, how the hell is your placeholder the last one to come out? And once he was the last one to come out with like 10 seconds left on the play clock, I knew that Dan Bailey was going to miss that kick. I knew it was going to happen. It's gotten to a point where with our kickers, guys, and I'm dead serious when I say this, I don't get mad at missed kicks anymore. I'm so numb to it. I'm so used to it to where it's like, you might as well play like the Harlem Globetrotters music when our kickers come out, or maybe like the cartoon sound effects where it's slipping on a banana peel, basically when our kickers go up there, because it's like, okay,
Randy, I think you're looking for the Benny Hill theme. That's what you're looking for.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
The Benny Hill theme.
It's so comical at this point because we didn't need to make a change of kicker. Kai Forbath was so mentally tough. He missed those extra points, but it was like whatever. He come through in the clutch for us. Kai Forbath would not look as dumb as Dan Bailey had. And Dan Bailey was one of the most accurate kickers in the league before he signed up with us. So basically, like any kicker that comes to us, they just fold apart and they don't know how to kick ever in the NFL. But John DeFilippo needs to be fired. 4th and inches, you don't call a quarterback sneak. There's no C.J. Ham as a fullback to maybe throw the defense off. You call a basic-ass handoff to where you then it should have been turnover on downs, but then you get bailed out by a bad first down call, and then they reviewed it and said, actually, that is a first down. We're going to uphold this ruling. I don't get it. So then you had a chance to maybe capitalize on that. You're down 2 scores. Your offense does nothing. Then Eric Kendricks gets an interception. You turn the ball over. Your offense can't do anything. Never mind all the check down plays your offense relied on until the final drive of the first half. The problem with John DeFilippo and this offense seems to be they only seem to ramp things up when their backs are against the wall. With these weapons that we have on offense, there is no excuses for us to basically be this extra conservative, please don't make any mistakes offense. We have Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, Kyle Rudolph, and Dalvin Cook, and we're running a please don't make any mistakes offense. That's completely inexcusable. Then we had no problem firing North Turner mid-season in the 2016 season because his offense wasn't working. Flip should be fired. He should find his own way back to Minnesota. When he gets back to Minnesota, he can pack up his own damn office.
They're going with the jump theory here.
And once he's done with that, he can carpool with Mike McCarthy to whatever the hell buffet they choose to go to or whatever the hell they want to. Get the hell out of here. I don't care. For whatever reason, the national talking heads are still talking about this dude, Flip, as far as a head coaching candidate. And, Judd, you mentioned this earlier as far as, maybe he'll go to the Packers. He can go wherever the hell he wants. He needs to get out of Minnesota. He's a fraud offensive coordinator.
Thank you, Andy. Yeah, he's not done a good job. The game plan today, and it seems like they got things right against the Packers, but of course the Packers stink. That's the thing. That's where the Vikings, and I told Color this on the Purple podcast last Sunday, and this is where I've become very cautious now because I sort of got excited after they beat Detroit here. Mm-hmm. And Manny, the dangerous thing is this. They're doing some really good things against not very good teams. And so you say to yourself, the problems are solved. Well, they're not solved. They're just solved against not good teams.
You go into MetLife Stadium and you hang 37 on the New York Jets. And we're thinking, they're doing all right. But then you're reminded that it was the New York bleeping Jets.
Correct.
They had 278 yards of offense today, by the way, and 10 points.
Yeah, and Cousins had 201 yards.
4 yards a pass today.
Yeah, exactly.
For Kirk Cousins.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kenny in Ohio, you're next up on Viking Vent Line.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that we start every game. It's always a 3 and out. Almost every game is a 3 and out. We give up the ball to New England. They go down the field, score a touchdown, and I jokingly told my wife, I said, "Well, it's 7-0 because the game is over." Because I could tell after we missed the field goal, I could tell that's what we do because no one rallies, no one has gumption and heart, no one fights. It's like once something goes bad, and at the beginning they just go through the motions the rest of the way. Kirk Cousins, he doesn't have that clock in his head that most quarterbacks have. He doesn't have it, and he also can't move. So most quarterbacks can move up, side step, do this. He has no pocket awareness. He has no pocket awareness, and the coordinator, he's playing scared football. He plays not to lose football instead of playing winning football. You can't go 3 yards. Every pass you throw is 3 yards. 3 yards. 3 yards. It was 2nd and 20. We threw a 3-yard pass.
Mm-hmm.
It was 3rd and 17. We threw another 3-yard pass.
Mm-hmm.
Then it was 4th down. I told my wife, I said, well, what are we going to do? Throw another 3-yard pass? It was 4th and 11. And they threw another 3-yard pass.
Kenny, it's Brad Childress. It's the Brad Childress offense. You need 10 yards, you get 4. You need 3 yards, you get 4, but you're going to get 4.
It's 3rd and 9.
They expect you to catch 3 yards and run 17 or catch a 3-yard pass and run 15.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. You got to go to where you need the yardage at.
All right. Thanks, Kenny.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the call.
One thing that I noticed, too, that there was, and people were complaining, I think for somewhat good reason, about the 2 deep passes that they threw in the end zone. I think it was 10-7. They threw the 2 deep passes in the end zone. The first one to Thielen, that was, people were looking for a flag on that one. And then the next one to Aldrick Robinson, people were looking for a flag on that one. I thought Robinson probably had a little bit more of an argument for PI there.
Mm-hmm.
But what bothered me about that sequence was, all right, you tried your deep shot to Thielen in the end zone on 2nd and 8, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's 3rd and 8. You tried your deep shot already. Just run a play to get the first down. Why are you chucking it into the end zone again? At that point,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Now, should
yes.
PI have been called in that instance? Probably, but
The Robinson one, I think he
the-
definitely had a case. I think
Yeah.
you're right about that.
Yeah,
'Cause his
and that
arm
was the second
definitely-
one on 3rd and 8.
His
Yeah.
arm was pinned.
Yeah, definitely. But for me, it's like still the offensive approach there to me is just questionable because it's like you already tried your deep shot to the end zone.
Yep.
At this point, it's 3rd and 8. Just get the first down. Run a play to get that first down to keep the drive going and get into the end zone later.
The show is Viking Vent Line. We're in the TCL broadcast studios. I'm Judd. He is Manny Hill. Jonathan Harrison producing. Ross Brendel also helping out behind the scenes. And we will continue on with our friend Linda in Wyoming. Hi, Linda.
Hi, gentlemen. I decided the show finally needed a woman's point of view.
Always needs it.
And
Yes, that's good.
Yeah,
Always
Thank
welcome
you.
to appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, at an old point of view, I have seen every game the Vikings have ever played. I mean, I'm old enough to say that.
Your calls are always great. Dead serious.
Okay.
They're always great.
So I watched the Vikings lose 4 Super Bowls with the defensive-orientated Bud Graham.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now what we're watching here is we get to Denny Green. I watched them lose the chance, and I always said Denny Green would never get us to a Super Bowl because he's an offensive-orientated coach, doesn't pay any attention to the defense. All right? This is the same problem that you have with Zimmer.
Mhm.
He's a defensive-orientated coach who brings that perspective, and he always, and I think when you hire a coach like that, the other side, whether it's offense or defensive, you don't make good hires. North Turner flipped. He had one good hire on offense,
Yep.
Turner,
Yep.
that way. How many years has his offensive line stuck? 3 years. Who do we keep drafting and signing as free agents? Defense. If I was Zimmer, I would be saying, you got to get this fixed. I want everything to go towards that offensive line. But we don't see that perspective that way. I really think he brought Flip in. You know why? Because that read option in Philadelphia, Asia's defense up, he couldn't figure it out. And he brought Flip in to explain it to him so that his team doesn't get beat this year.
It's a good
and
theory.
He admitted that.
Yes.
And he's not going to be able to compete against Nagy in Chicago or McVay down there with the Rams because they're bringing in new concepts that the old defensive concepts cannot match. So, you're either going to have to change, Spielman's position and get someone in who's going to say, nope, I'm running it, we're going to balance this out, I'm going to have some say in the hire, or you're going to have to get rid of Zimmer because a defensive-orientated or an offensive-orientated who just does nothing with the other half of the ball does not work. And that's the genius of Belichick. Belichick knows, what the weaknesses are for the Vikes on offense and defense. He hires people who put those to work in creative ways on both the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, and he stays out of it and let them go through the game plan and those kinds of things. And until that happens, we're going to be frustrated every single year that way. Because, as I say, I watched 4 losing Super Bowls for exactly the same reason, that someone came in with new concepts that our defense couldn't handle. And Zimmer can't handle just defensive concepts. He's a defensive traditionalist. He doesn't know what to do with these young, college-orientated types of offense. And, I'm guessing it won't be long before you're going to have a few of the players that are going to start revolting again. It's happened before doing that. So,
all right.
That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Linda.
Interesting points. I do believe that she's right, though, about the fact that Zim got his butt kicked in Philadelphia and saw the opportunity to hire a guy who helped in that, in the preparation of that butt kicking, and said, I'll take him.
But look how he got Nick Foles to, he's the quarterback's coach, and he got Nick Foles to, get to catch fire in the playoffs and on.
And I'm all for taking cornerbacks in the first round, because I think if you try and cheat on that, now I'm not saying you can't find him in the 5th round, but the Vikings have shown Marcus McCauley, Asher Allen, that group, that if you try and take them 3rd round or after, it's tough to get good ones.
Josh Robinson.
But there is a definite discussion to be had about how you don't address the offensive line with that first pick, or as we talked about, if you were going to take the corner with your 1st round pick, you've got to trade whatever it takes to get back up there and take one at the start of the 2nd round. You just have to.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this for months.
Yeah, it's a broken record. You're right.
But it's like Joe Berger, your right guard, retires. He retires. And he was pretty good for you. You have a gaping hole at right guard, and you don't address it at all. Okay, you get Brian O'Neill, and you're high on his upside, and okay, fine, but you've got a gaping hole at right guard. You can't just run back. You can't just run it back like you had last year when one of your guys, one of your better offensive linemen out of the 5, is not playing with you anymore. You have to address that hole.
We've got quotes coming from Mike Zimmer from the press conference. This from Andrew Kramer. No, Mike Zimmer said when asked if the Vikings ran the ball enough, seemed frustrated about the balance on offense, which has been an ongoing thing.
Okay, but here's why I would throw that back at him then, is this. The Green Bay, he complained about that with DiFilippo prior to the Green Bay game. And I completely get that. You sit down with John, you meet, they clearly did, you meet with Kirk. But therefore, after that, you've got to be involved. Like if you're
stay involved.
If you are Zimmer, from the moment that you publicly complain, it's now on you. It's incumbent on you to be involved.
That's why you're the head coach.
So you can't come back with, this surprised me. You're playing the New England bleeping Patriots in the start of an incredibly tough but crucial 2-game stretch, and you're surprised or you're upset. That's on you now. That's on you. And so I understand if he's frustrated, but the main person that Mike Zimmer has to be frustrated if they didn't run the ball enough today against the Patriots is Mike Zimmer. It's not DiFilippo. You can be upset with him, but the main person to be upset with is yourself.
Yep.
Harold and Blaine, what's up?
Hey, I started listening a little late, but in the in the Patriots' first drive when they went 95 yards, they had 3 passes in a row. Now, I have a pretty small television, so I couldn't see any Vikings in the covering them.
Mm-hmm.
Were there Vikings on the field when they were making those passes?
Harold, believe it or not, there were.
Oh, okay.
There were guys in jerseys that and helmets that had horns that were definitely out there. I saw it. Big TV, TCL TV, showed the whole thing.
I should get a bigger TV.
You should.
All right, then the other thing I was thinking when you mentioned that that the holder wasn't out there in time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that my biggest concern is the huge touchdown celebration when the team sucked for 28 minutes. I'm more concerned about people who have that attitude, is that they have this huge touchdown celebration. Have they not been watching their team? I mean, there's just got to be something going on here.
Like what?
Well, I mean, you just have to be aware that, your team's not doing very well.
But that's how athletes are now. I get what you're saying, but Gopher players can be down by 40 and they tackle a guy for a meaningless tackle and celebrate it.
Yeah.
It's just how guys are. Well, it's the last thing. That is I get your frustration. It is the last thing on my list of gripes.
I mean, when Cordero Patterson returns a kickoff for a touchdown against the Seattle Seahawks at TCF Bank Stadium when the Vikings are down 35-0 in the fourth quarter, and he's high-stepping and celebrating with a big smile on his face,
idiot.
He's an idiot. Okay,
right.
But tonight, I mean, the touchdown that they scored got them to within 3 points. And it was in the middle of the game. It's not like it was a blowout. Who cares?
Exactly.
Who cares?
Exactly. 651-646-8255 Viking Vent Line. Judd, Manny, Jonathan, Ross, and now joined by our buddy Don in Ohio. Hello, Don.
The Vikings, since last year's NFC Championship game, is 0-5 versus playoff teams or possible playoff teams.
Yep.
They've been outscored by 70 points.
Yep.
This is not a coincidence in any way, shape, or form.
Nope.
The team has underperformed since the NFC Championship game. And it's whether it's been the defense that's failed them in the beginning or it's the offense that's been failing now. This team is not a playoff team. It just isn't.
What's your main gripe, Don? So if you were to, after laying out those statistics for us, if you were to give me your main issue with this team right now, what's that?
I think it's John DeFilippo. I don't think there's any question about that. I would say, yeah, it would be extreme. Of course it would. But the 2012 Baltimore Ravens fired their offensive coordinator in Week 14, and the Vikings window is small. I feel very confident saying that the DeFilippo project has failed, and that you have a small window right now. I mean, you still have a couple options that they can go with if they need to. They had, Stefanski was,
yes,
someone that he was there. I mean, he's on the team still.
Yep.
That's someone that they could bring in that they could just let go of DeFilippo and promote Stefanski at this point, considering he was well regarded as wanting to be there. I mean, if you want to go really outside the box, you have, Cliff Kingsbury, who got fired from Texas Tech, and someone that a lot of, NFL teams are looking into. I mean, you can still hire him on there for the time being. You have to. I mean, how do you not go to quarterback sneak on 4th and inches or 3rd and 1 at all when you know that they're going to be doing that? And you have 2nd and 20, and you throw 3 short passes on 2nd, 3rd, and 4th down when you're, it isn't just that. That, I would say that series exemplifies the Vikings offense this entire season. Outside of the Rams game, this offense has been a disaster. It really is. And it's not going to get any better. If you're telling me you will, you're wrong. It's waste. And Zimmer's got to be infuriated at this point. His defense is playing at a good level, actually a great level now. It's finally found its, and then you have this offense that's struggling. You can tell Cousins is not comfortable in this offense. It's just, you can just tell the way he plays.
Yep.
He's just not confident.
He's playing cautious now, Don. He's playing cautious. You could tell he is fearful, and he should be, of screwing up.
And you know what? You know what happens to a lot of times you can tell. What did I tell you in the first quarter after their first couple of possessions? I said, Kirk Cousins has no chance tonight.
Yeah,
You can just tell.
He's afraid. He
If
is
you
been told.
get pressure on him early, if you get pressure on him early, he's cooked for the rest of the game. He's got no shot.
I think at this point, honestly, if they lay another egg against Seattle, you fire DiFilippo. You have to at this point to salvage the season, to make the playoffs. You have to fire DiFilippo. You have to either to promote Stefanski or you hire somebody else. Even maybe McCarthy. I don't know. I mean,
You would be Stefanski right now.
No, I don't want
No,
that.
we don't want. No, come on, Don. We don't want
Mike McCarthy right now.
I just did.
But I think it would just be Stefanski. I honestly
I agree with you on that. Yep. All right,
I think it has to be Stefanski. And fire Preferred. You have to fire Preferred.
I'm confident that is coming. Thanks. Talk to you.
Well, listen, Stefanski was going to go to the Giants and be Pat Shurmur's offensive coordinator, remember? And the Vikings blocked him because they wanted to keep him, so they're high on him.
Yep.
So I mean, hey, I don't know if I don't know if doing it in the middle of the season will change anything, but who knows?
Manny, brace yourself because next up is Bob in Pennsylvania.
Bob.
Brace yourself because earlier this evening,
8 Yinglings
you
in.
hear
Bob.
we hear calls from Randy from Oakland. He's calm on a night like this. I'm telling you, brace yourself because I'm anything but calm. The call from Randy from Oakland after the Bears game was the best call of the year. And the follow-up after that, Randy from Cottage Grove, when he just got busted and, he was apologizing and, he didn't really understand what was going on. That was the best bet line ever. But the point is this. When you have a loss like this tonight, learn from it, Mike Zimmer, because Bill Belichick is not in the game to make it close. He's in the game. It's a war, and he's in it to win the war, and he will do anything to defeat the opponent. Just like how he went face-to-face against Adam Thielen when Thielen was shooting his mouth off about an early Christmas gift that the Vikings got on that fourth and inches terrible call that they were gifted on the fourth down, and they got another chance to get back in the game. What did Belichick say to Thielen when he was shooting his mouth off? He said, "Shut the bleep up." Mike Zimmer in that situation would have adjusted his glasses, pulled his card up, read the playbook, and said, "Excuse me, what would you have said?" See, that's the difference between Belichick and Zimmer. Zimmer is out to run the ball, run the clock out, play conservative, be predictable, and, maybe we can get a win against a winning team one of these years, Who knows? Belichick is in it to win the war against any opponent. What do you guys think?
Are you done, Bob? Keep going. The floor, the floor is yours. I think that I think the season is right now is tracking to be an incredible bust compared to what we thought.
The thing about this,
they're not a playoff team right now.
Is that the bet line has I love it when Randy from Oakland went ballistic after that Bears game because that's how I feel. I'm trying to control my blood pressure right now. I'm like,
keep going.
Some magnesium, because it's really high. But when he was to flip in on the appeals and Randy says that the Vikings kicking game is like Benny Hill, it's a joke. That's what this team is. It's a joke. And I was the biggest Benny Hill fan and Jackie Rose fan and the Bill Bengals in the history of television. Because that's what they are. It's a Benny Hill show. And that's what Mike Zimmer is. And I'm sick and tired of it.
And with that, Bob, we will let you go and say thank you very much. Don't hang up, people. Keep calling. 651-646-8255. As far as I'm concerned, we are just getting started.
That might have been the call of the year.
1500 ESPN is KSTP. We are identifying ourselves. We're not taking a break, but I am going to turn it over to Manny to talk about a place that's not a joke because Lucky's 13 is a very serious, good restaurant. Tell me about it.
Lucky's 13 Pubs brings you Vikings Vent Line as they have every week this season. They are the best spot in the Twin Cities to catch a game as the Vikes make a push for the playoffs, and they got some work to do. Lucky's, they have tons of TVs, those legendary appetizers. They've got those amazing fresh half-pound burgers, those handcrafted sandwiches. They've got a wide variety of
Give me a legal ID when you're done, Manny.
favorites. And the drink menu's awesome, the huge selection of tap beer, the cocktails, the best Bloody Marys in town. Seriously, these Bloodies are awesome. You can try the Bacon Bloody, the Jalapeno Bloody, the Mother Mary. You know what? You can try them all by getting a flight and just sampling each one of them.
Try them all if you're a Viking fan tonight. In fact, you know what? Take an Uber home, get as drunk as you want. Try every one of those Bloodies.
Definitely. Lucky's, they celebrate Sunday Fun Day, happy hour all day long on Sunday, every Sunday. They've got prize giveaways during games, too. If you've got people in your life who are not really into football, Lucky's, I'll tell you what, right now, especially this time of year, they're a great spot for friends and family for the holidays. They go all out with all the decorations and everything, too. I've been in there during a Halloween time. It's great. If you're having people over for the game and you can't make it out to Lucky's, you can call ahead, and everything that you order will be ready to pick up as soon as you get there. 5 Twin Cities locations. Find them online at luckys13pub.com, luckys13pub.com.
And we have 1500 ESPN, which is KSDP.
St. Paul, Minneapolis.
Perfect. See? There you go. We're combining teamwork, which the Vikings didn't have today enough of. 651-646-8255. Let's fill these phone lines back up. One line is open. Let's see who's been holding the longest. That would be Brian in North Carolina. So, Brian, you get the chore of following up Bob in Pennsylvania, who I think just broke his phone.
Did I just hear a Benny Hill reference?
You've heard about 4 of them.
Yeah,
5 of them.
Several.
Hey, I have a prediction before I get to the question. I've had it for a while, which is,
of course,
Cousins, Zimmer, and Spielman are all joined at the hip. They will be renewed or all let go at the same time with the conclusion of Cousins' contract. Would you agree? And then I'll move on to my question.
Possible.
You know what? That's not. I have never thought about it in that context till now. But it's a good point because Zim's good. Well, and by that point, if they haven't won a title in a couple of years, Zim's what, pushing 65 at that point?
Yeah.
Spielman.
That's what I'm saying. You know,
it's a good theory. I like it.
The talent window will also begin to close, and that may be a good time for a reboot.
I like it.
And anyway, the reason I called Judd, time to break out the pie chart of blame.
All righty. The pie chart of blame.
This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard for you because I'm going to give you an odd number to work with, so the math is going to be insane.
I can do any pie chart you want.
Offensive blame. How much on DiFilippo? How much on Cousins? How much on offensive line?
All right. So you're giving me 3 pieces. I am going to say the offensive line is an enormous sum, and it's not all their fault, but it's their fault. But it's the administration's fault for not improving that. I'm going to say your offensive line has caused you because they are far too often incompetent and inept. I'm going to give them 60% of the blame. After that, Manny, I am going to give DiFilippo because I don't believe the play calling has been good, and that also goes back to the head coach as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him. Should I give him? If I give him 20, I'm going to give him 30%, and then I'm going to give Cousins the rest of it, which is not enough. But where I side with Cousins is, how the hell do you sign this guy who you know is basically a statue, but you know his shortcomings? How do you sign him to that contract and then not give him an offensive line?
Yeah.
So I in some weird ways, I don't absolve him completely, but I feel for him because he signs here, and I got it. His contract eats up a lot of your salary cap, and therefore you can't go get as good a line as you want. But still, you knew what this was going to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a surprise. You don't watch him play and like, oh, I really thought he could run really well. Yeah, I thought he was Case Keenum.
They were a middle of the league at best offensive line last year. At best, they were probably the 16th or 17th best.
But they were so much better than the previous year.
So much better than the previous year that we all thought, the offensive line.
And to your point, that's Reif and Remmers, with Remmers at right tackle, which, as you said, is where he should be.
Right, exactly. So what happened was last year, the offensive line was significantly better than what it was the year before, but only because in 2016, it was a complete train wreck and complete disaster. was one of the worst offensive lines we've ever seen, with T.J. Clemmings and Jake Long holding on for dear life and at the end of his career. So they improved on the offensive line last year, but it still wasn't a good offensive line. So what ended up happening was Rick Spielman just thought, well, we had a good offensive line last year, so we'll just run it back with the same guys. Oh, but wait, your right guard retired. Joe Berger, one of your best guys, probably your second best offensive lineman, retired.
So you also took your right tackle, who you displaced in the playoffs, and continued to displace him.
Yeah.
You dominoed everything in an incredibly foolish way. Instead of saying, Remmers has to get back to right tackle because we signed him to play there, and he's actually not bad there. So instead of saying to yourself, we've got to draft somebody high, and you had enough picks. I got a note from a guy at one point. But if you traded up in the second round, you know how many picks you have. You were a Super Bowl team. You thought you were a Super Bowl team.
Yeah.
This is not a time to take the long play.
This is why you brought in Kirk Cousins, right? Because you were in the NFC Championship game last year.
Yep.
And you thought Cousins was going to be the guy that got you over the hump that Keenum couldn't get you over.
Back to the phone lines. Chad in Colorado has been waiting very patiently. And Chad, you are next up on Viking Vent Line.
Gentlemen, this is Chad from Colorado. Hope things are going well. It's not a good week this week again. I think Randy and I are on the same page, man. Vikings are looking terrible. The Vikings were clearly outplayed by Belichick and his pound the ball strategy. Those who call Zimmer to be gone, my personal feeling is that they should be crazy. The previous caller talked about the pie chart. All three of those components are totally blamed on Spielman, taking this team to the casino. Tired of it. So with that, I wanted to rant on this Flippy about 4 weeks ago, but I didn't. I wanted to hold off a little bit because he had a decent calling game, but now back to his old ways. On top of what everyone else said, this is the second time Flippy has failed for the second time using Treadwell on a fourth down and calling a quick slant to Treadwell. Are you freaking kidding me?
I'm with you on this. Yes. Preach.
Yeah, the other time in the Green Bay game. After that Green Bay game, Treadwell said, I made my play 100 times in practice. Treadwell said, I'll learn so much from that play. I'll learn so much about myself from that play. I've never been in a situation before, and I'm owning up to it, and I'm getting better. Bull! Calling that play to Treadwell was absolutely absurd. Absolutely absurd. Now, you know what? I believe the Vikings fans out there should be saying to Flippy, you know what? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you. Maybe Flippy should trade him that Super Bowl ring.
Should Flippy fly home commercial from Boston? That's the question. Should Flippy be flying home commercial from either Providence or Boston?
It should be from Boston immediately. He needs to go to Boston University and maybe go back to secondary education and maybe learn the old offenses from the 1960s, like maybe go do the wishbone. Try that out again. Maybe to call some jet sweeps like the Patriots were doing all day to us. We're literally doing Mike McCarthy for a drink on the unemployment bar in millionaire states in a game of life. Flippy, you are the weakest link. Goodbye.
I love it. I'm going to hold that to the camera. Flippy. We have a new name for John D. Filippo.
Yeah.
Flippy. 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500. We have an open phone line on Viking Vent Line, and we have Shelly up next. Hi, Shelly.
Hey, guys, long-time listener, and Linda's got some great points, but I called because I'm so ticked today. Do you not think that Zimmer's thought might be that let's have a superior defense and we can win championships with an adequate offense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why our offensive line sucks. But number one, and number two is Pfeiffer's got to go. But when we do hire a new special teams coordinator, we need to get a special kicking coach. Get Longwell in here. I'm sure we could get him in here for a cheap amount. And then he needs to get in there mentally with these guys.
Thank you, Shelly. Appreciate the phone call. They need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
The kicking, whenever, as I said before, Manny, when it was just Blair Walsh, you said, okay, it's just Blair Walsh. He stinks. He's messed up.
Yeah, he had the miss in the
But I
playoff
mean, now
game.
it's too much now. Dan Bailey, who, as Jonathan said, was one of the most accurate kickers, is a mess. Like, how is Dan Bailey a mess? How is Dan Bailey missing consistently?
Yeah.
So 651-646-8255. Again, we have an open phone line. Let's go out to California, where Ariel joins the show. Ariel, you're up next on Ventline.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Not much.
New listeners.
We appreciate
I'm a Bears fan, but I wanted to say thank you guys for this loss. You guys helped us out tremendously. You guys could have catched up, but I don't think that's going to happen anymore. You guys have a tough schedule, and we'll see you week 16. And I think we're going to beat you at your house also. Thank you, guys. Thanks again.
Appreciate it, Ariel.
I think it's week 17.
It is week 17.
Yeah, week 16.
It is.
Somebody else.
And as of right now, Washington plays Philadelphia tomorrow night. As of right now, the Vikings are, by my count, winning percentage-wise, 7th in the NFC, so they're out of the playoff picture right now.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle won again today, and the Vikings play at Seattle next Monday night.
That game is huge.
So it's your top four teams, and then it's Seattle and Washington, which plays the Eagles tomorrow night, is now the 6th seed, and the Vikings are the 7th seed. The number is 651-646-8255, 877-615-1500 if you are not in the metropolitan area. Let's see where we should go to next. We go to Eric in Philadelphia, looks like. Hi, Eric.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. I thought the Vikings played pretty well today, actually. They should have got that pass interference call on Thielen. They should have got a pass interference call on Robinson. That would have changed the game a lot. The defense held up okay. The offense is the problem, but it's been the offensive line. You guys are dead on that. I don't know what the answer is. Hopefully they can get it together, but I think we can win out from here. And I feel pretty good about our chances from now on.
Seattle next Monday? You feel good about that one? After that, I'm sort of with you.
Seattle. Oh, hell yes. I feel good about Seattle. We beat Seattle.
That's a tough place to play, Eric.
Wilson will not beat us. You have to understand that, Rhodes was out for much of the game. Trey Waynes was out for much of the game. I mean, when you see Marcus Sherrills on the field,
sure,
that's not good.
I don't think Trey Waynes is back, though, because this is concussion number 2 now. I think there's a very good chance that a week from Monday in Seattle, Waynes doesn't play. And Eric, the one place that I would definitely disagree with you is Russell Wilson can beat you.
Yes.
He's that good.
Well, we should have beat him up in the playoffs, and we'll still beat him.
All right.
In Seattle. I have confidence in that. And I think you got a pretty good team here. The offensive line is the downside of the team, but you saw Detroit. They have a lot of first-round draft picks. They have big signings that they had from free agency, and their offensive line is blocking like crap too. So I don't know what the answer is, but hopefully, if they can block them up, I think Kirk Cousins will be all right.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Appreciate the phone call. We go to Brady in North Dakota. Hi, Brady.
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. Just got a quick question for you before I get to my point. Were you and Manny at all impressed with the play calling against the Packers in Week 2 and also the Los Angeles Rams? What did you guys think of the play calling in both of those games?
That goes back quite a ways. I thought the performance of the quarterback in Week 2 against the Packers in the second half was very impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Cousins was very good in the second half of that game. And the Rams game was, 38-31, something like that?
Cousins had 400-something yards.
But how much did they run in that game? Because the Rams game is the one where they tried to bring Cook back on a pitch count.
Yeah, and 10 carries for 20 yards.
So I think the one thing that we keep going back to, Brady, is the fact that what we're not impressed by is the run-pass ratio on a consistent basis.
Yeah, and I think, long term, you definitely got to have more of a balance. But I just, Randy called in and I was tweeting him. I just have a question, like how many of these play calls that we're complaining about is them overriding? For example, on the 4th and 1, is it something that maybe Flip had a different play call, but Zim as a head coach overruled him? I don't know if any of us know that, but I just a little bit suspect of Zimmer. I like some of the things that they were doing earlier in the season, and personally, I just can't help but think that maybe Zim is getting a little bit too involved with the offense as the season goes on.
All right, Brady. Thanks for the phone call. Yeah, but if Zimmer's criticizing the run-pass ratio from the game today in the post-game press conference, that would lead me to believe that he's not doing it.
Yeah.
Like if you were to, because theoretically, if you were asked about that and you were trying to have a great influence either on the pregame preparation for the play calling or in-game telling Filippo that you don't like his calls and are going to make different calls, you would say it was my decision. The quote that Kramer has is saying I wasn't happy with it.
Well, and I can't imagine that Mike Zimmer, who has been hammering home about running the football more week after week after week now for basically the last month.
Yep.
I can't imagine that this team ran 13 times for 95 yards tonight and Mike Zimmer was overriding anything.
The other thing that you got to understand is he is the defensive play caller, and there is only so much time in a game itself to call plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't be planning and talking to defensive guys during the offensive series and also be calling offensive plays. You can split your time only so much. So my guess is that's why Mike relies on his offensive coordinator so much, because so much of his time in a game is spent on defensive strategies and play calls. So I don't think he's like going back and forth. That's why it's always been ideal to have coordinators who call plays, because you can only flip that toggle switch back and forth X amount of times before you start to go absolutely crazy, and you can't split your time completely.
I'm just baffled that they ran the ball 13 times for 95 yards. Dalvin Cook had 9 carries for 84 yards, and he had the one long 32-yard run. That even if you take that away,
he looked damn good.
Yeah, even if you take that run away, it's 8 carries for 52 yards. That's a pretty good yard per carry average. So I don't understand how they were popping off those nice runs tonight and Flip, for whatever reason, just decided to go away from it. I don't get it.
Minneapolis and our buddy Miguel. Hi, Miguel.
What's going on, Judge? I've been down with you since day one, man.
I know.
I had fun on the radio.
I know you have. Always enjoy your calls.
Manny know I'm going to get this hip-hop podcast with him, man. He knows
Manny knows his stuff.
Man, I'm trying to get Manny the man. I'm trying, everybody want a piece of that. Come on now.
What you got for us on today's Viking game?
I'll say this. First, I want to talk about the Philadelphia coaches, see, because what happened was, look at Indiana. Because I think Frank Reich was the guy who was overlooked there at that, because everyone wants to be like, well, where's Flip's imagination and all this? Well, let's look at the quarterback that he has now compared to who and what he was dealing with up there. He had more athletic guys that can do some different things. Cousins is a more in-the-pocket guy. We've been saying, I know I've been saying it, and plenty of fans saying it all year since training camp. I mean, look at it. In the preseason, we don't even have the same line since preseason, right? So you can't win in this league with this amount of guys, with this talent, because like I say, it's an 8-8 league, right? So when you got coaching, talent, injuries, and some luck, there you go. Well, we don't have the talent on offensive line to compete. And Indianapolis went out with the third pick. People forget, but they went backwards to get 2 offensive linemen to protect Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota went out. They spent $85 million. They put a first rounder in Hughes. Out. They go out last year. They put they got money in Wayne. Out. They put money in all these. They go out to get Sheldon Richardson. Fine, but you're going to go get all these. Icola came in also this year. Never did they ever address the issue or give the guy who needs protection. And so that's why these issues are where they are, and that's why the Vikings look like an average team, because really they're getting outcoached. Think about the top 5 teams. You go ahead and think about them quickly, and you think about that head coach. If that head coach is more than likely going to be an offensive guy, really pushing the ball with a quarterback. And so when you think about how the league is changing and how they are more like, hey, don't touch these receivers, and they want these guys to put up these points and these numbers, and you can't do it. Oh boy, that looks really bad. And it's looking bad because every year you're changing these offensive coordinators every 2-3 years. And on top of that, when you got Uncle Norv Turner down there with Cam Newton, and Cam Newton's looking really good.
Yeah, not today, didn't. Yeah.
But overall, Cam is looking a lot more confident in the pocket than he has through his career.
Yep.
And so that says a lot about what's going on and who's coaching him. And so I just think that Zim, he's in a tough spot. He's going to have to find an offensive line. And let's just be fair, you won't even know what this offense is until the line is giving them some time. Because when they do give them time, that's when you get those Green Bay performances. That's when you get the Rams performances. When he actually has time, people are like, look at this guy. He looks like a top 5 quarterback. Well, of course, he has time. Every quarterback looks great with time.
Thank you, sir.
I do think, to a degree, I think we're kind of, and this is, I mean, there's no question that this offensive line is typically every week is overmatched by whoever they go up against because there's just not enough talent there. I think Elfline's a good player. You know, Riley Reef has been pretty solid in that spot. You know, he's dealt with some injuries and whatnot. Remmers is okay when he's playing right tackle. But I think we cannot underrate the effect that losing Tony Sperano, I think, has had on this unit.
Sure, yeah.
I mean,
it definitely plays a role, but you still didn't address it. Yeah, no, there's no question it plays a role.
But I think
it's a valid point.
Yeah, and I think just that whole situation that doesn't let Rick Spielman off the hook for neglecting, you know, drafting an interior lineman in the offseason. But I think that because right now you have to wonder with that too, like how the pecking order of coaching and how that is helping that unit right now, because Tony Sperano, if he's here, you know, and rest his soul, but if he's here and he's working with these guys, it might be different.
If Tony was here, he might be saying, "What belief did you do to me, Rick? Because you didn't address it too."
Right.
So,
but I just wonder if
it's a fair point.
You're already sort of up against it with sort of a lack of talent on the offensive line, and then on top of that, you have guys that have unfortunately been put in situations from a coaching standpoint, and they're doing things that Tony Sperano otherwise would have been relied upon to be doing.
Danny, Dan, Phil, George, and Blake, hold on. We're going to take a break. TCL Broadcast Studios. We will be right back after this. The show is Vikings Vent Line. Vikings lose to the Patriots today.
Frustration.
What are we doing? Absolutely inexcusable.
Exasperation.
You can't make this stuff up. I just don't have it in me anymore.
Confusion.
I just don't know what the problem is.
Elation.
Yes, it was a beautifully thrown ball. We're ready. We're all ready.
Vikings Vent Line. It's your chance to react to the game.
1 hour before the game and immediately after the game.
Vikings Vent Line.
Not going to let my emotions get carried away. Everyone needs to calm down.
On 1500 ESPN. Let it out.
Typical Vikings.
Now at Menards, save big money in your next project with 11% off everything. Save 11% on your kitchen cabinets when you choose Clearview Cabinetry. They feature full access cabinet construction and soft closed drawers and doors.
I'm screenshotting that, and that's my new profile picture on Twitter.
11% off. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through December 8th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money.
Keep going until these calls die out.
Hey, this is Google certified speaker Lee Regan, and I'm excited to be speaking to you at the upcoming Hubbard Digital Academy. We're going to learn all about artificial intelligence and how Google Ads and AI are going to help take your business to the next level. I look forward to seeing you there.
You'll also learn and discuss digital marketing, social media, video, and search. Here's what a past attendee had.
Manny, when we come back, give me a billboard, Lucky's 13 billboard, and then somewhere in the middle again, give me another billboard.
The speakers were very knowledgeable. We're happy to say we're now on a path that will enable us to connect to a wider audience.
10 breakout sessions, breakfast, lunch, swag bags, headshots, and lunch keynote speaker, leadership expert Eric Verwanger. Visit HubbardDigitalAcademy.com for information. Space is limited, so visit HubbardDigitalAcademy.com now. The December 10th Hubbard Digital Academy is sponsored by Popcorn in Minnetonka.
Message and data rates may apply.
I wish I could be the man I used to be. Back when you had no income, skills, or experience? But I had a great head of hair. So, you just want your hair back? I just want my hair back.
Guys, the best is yet to come because Bosley can give you your real hair back permanently. They're giving away an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card to everyone who texts GET to 85850. Keep your hair, keep your confidence, keep moving forward. Trusted by people all over the country, Bosley is America's #1 hair restoration expert. Using the latest technology, Bosley's solution to hair loss is permanent and protected by the Bosley Guarantee. Bosley, keep growing. We even have new non-surgical options. So text now for an absolutely free information kit and a free gift card for $250 off. Text GET to 85850. That's GET to 85850.
Game's over.
What'd you think?
Let's hear it with Phil Neville, John Zolgad, Manny Hill. It's Vikings Vent Line.
The show solely devoted to your reaction on the game. Vikings Vent Line now continues.
3 plays, 24 yards, 15 yards, 12 yards. Brady throws another big one. Gordon for the touchdown. Here's Javelin gets another. His second of the game. And the Patriots open it up here in the fourth quarter, up by 2 scores. Harrison Smith coming on the blitz. Got there late. Pass is picked. Intercepted by Kendricks. And exactly what Minnesota needed to try to get back in it.
Yeah, well, that was one of the few bright spots for the Vikings this afternoon or early evening as they fall to the Patriots 24-10 today. Vikings now 6-5-1. Those Patriots, they improved to 9-3. What else is new with them? Patriots 471 yards of offense today against this vaunted Vikings defense. Vikings Vent Line continues on. Manny Hill and Judge Zolgad. Brought to you by Lucky's 13 Pubs, 5 Twin Cities locations, Wilmington, Burnsville, Mendota, Plymouth, and Roseville. Find them online at luckys13pub.com. And, yeah, Judd, I mean, everything across the board, when you just look at the stats, everything, the Patriots really dominated this game. Statistically, they pretty much dominated this game in every category. And we know the Patriots are who they are. Right, like
Right.
This is what they do. Brady's great.
They
and
left the door open for you at various times.
They
to get
did.
right back in this game, which the Vikings did when they tied it. Now they gave up a touchdown on the Patriots' very next possession,
which just killed everything.
But there were opportunities to take this game.
Yes,
this was not a dominant wire-to-wire performance in which you said that the Vikings had no chance. This was a game in which the Patriots, who are a very good team but far from perfect, gave you opportunities, and you couldn't take them. And they couldn't take them. And that's the story of the 2018 Vikings against good teams. Mm-hmm. It really is. The story of this team for 2018 is they beat up on teams that aren't as good as they are, but when they play a team where you say, okay, if you're really going to win a championship, you guys are got to win that game, they can't do it.
Isn't it amazing how when they went into Lincoln Financial Field and beat the Eagles, how the viewpoint of the team then was, okay, this was the signature win. This was going to get them going in the right direction. Yep. And even that win just looks like not much right now.
All right, back to the Vent Line phone lines, and let's go to Danny, who's been waiting patiently in New Jersey. Hello, Danny.
Hey, guys. Long-time listener, first-time caller. So I just, I've been a Viking fan since around 1993. I became a fan, actually, because of Warren Moon. I don't really know where to begin, to be honest. You have a $90 million quarterback with a 10-cent offensive line. Like you guys have mentioned over and over again, and it's been said more times than I can remember about the offensive line being a problem. But you don't give Kirk Cousins a running game. You're bringing him to exactly where he was with Washington. The team has completely been unable to effectively run play action, any type of play action setup this season due to the lack of run game. Play action is where Cousins has thrived the most. Seems like again, I think it was mentioned earlier about the running back, about Dalvin Cook being used for a while. It seemed like he got hot. They came out in the second half. It seemed like they stopped using him. I don't know what the problem is with the inconsistency. Last week against Green Bay, maybe because Green Bay is lesser talented on the defensive side. I don't know. I know Mike Daniels was missing. Mike Daniels or James Daniels, I forgot.
Mike Daniels, yes, he was very good.
Yeah, so I don't know if that attributed to that. I'm sure it did. But a lot of moving Cousins around the last game.
Yep.
A lot of screen passes last game. I just don't understand, and quite honestly, I am completely disgusted and fed up with the roller coaster ride. Every week there is just some sort of inconsistency. Look, and I don't want to keep you guys too long because I know you guys got callers that need to vent as well. But I'll just say one thing, man. I was a very big supporter of the Mike Zimmer hire. In no way, shape, or form am I pulling for the man's head. But I got to tell you, I work for a living. You work for a living. And last time I checked, Zimmer's the boss. If I go into my job and I don't do what my boss tells me to do, I'm gone. So for him to keep making comments about, we need to run the ball more, we're not, stop being too cute. I mean, these are all shots at DiFilippo. I mean, it is what it is. And it just seems like this guy goes into the games, does whatever he wants. And honestly, we were sold a bag of goods. Really, I thought it was a really good hire with him too, coming from the Eagles with with what they did to New England. I thought that was a really good move, getting him. But it seems to me like it's been a complete bust. It just is not working out. I don't know if a change right now in the season would change anything, but it's a real shame. You go and sign a $90 million quarterback, and Judd, you mentioned it earlier about the season, kind of like maybe slipping away and becoming a bust. In my opinion, I know the season's not over yet, but in my opinion, the season is already a bust. The fact that we have to sit here and talk about Vikings have to do this, they have to win this game, they have to win out, they have to go to Seattle, they have to do all these things just to get in the playoffs. In my opinion, when you have to talk like that with the type of team that we have, that Spielman has built, listen, and he's hit on things and he's missed on plenty. The type of money that the Wilfs have doled out, this team should not be where they are. It's a complete disappointment. What are they, 6-5-1 now? It's a complete disappointment, and in my opinion, they're going to go to Seattle and get murdered next Monday night.
Yep.
The team does not play well on primetime games.
And that's a tough place to play too. And you're playing Russell Wilson. You're right.
Yes, it definitely is. I just really hope that somehow they figure it out. I don't want to say I'm turning the page to next year, but each week goes by, it gets a little more difficult. And in my opinion, when you have to start possibly relying on other teams, who lost today. I think Ben Gessling from the Star Tribune, tweeted something out that the Vikings right now currently hold they're like the 7th.
They are. They're out of the playoffs right now. Yep.
I mean, you have a $90 million quarterback. You have probably the 2 best receiving duos in the league. You have a dynamic running back. You have a pretty good, solid tight end. Yeah, the offensive line is crap. But you see how well Pat Sherman moved everybody around last year. I get it. Keenum was a little bit of a different quarterback, but the guy knew the weakness. And you can't tell me that John DiFilippo, especially after the draft and through training camp and through preseason and now for the first 12, 13 games of the year, you don't recognize that the offensive line is the biggest, the weakest link to this team?
Right. Thank you, Danny.
Yeah, I mean, and going back to the running game again, Judd, the running game was effective today. It was effective today.
If Mike Zimmer's not happy that it wasn't used more, though, that's also I'm not just going to accept the fact that the offensive coordinator came up with all the rules. The head coach has to say, and this is my explanation to you is in game he can't be calling defense and offense. It's way too much, but he can certainly be involved, and he was before the Packers game in the game planning. And so if anything came as a surprise to him that John DiFilippo entered today's game with any surprises to the head coach, that's on one person, the head coach.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan.
Hi. I think the problem, it isn't the offensive line. Before the season started, most of the experts had the Vikings right up there Super Bowl contenders.
Sure did.
You know who today on the pregame, Bradshaw, that wears 4 Super Bowl rings, that's 4 more than the whole Viking organization ever won. He said, in his opinion, the best team in football is the LA Rams. However, they're not the team in his opinion, and a lot of knowledgeable other people. They're not the team with the most talent. They got the best record. The team with the most talent, he said, is the Minnesota Vikings. Their problem is they don't have a good head coach. I think Terry Bradshaw hit it on the head. When we lost to Philadelphia last year when we were favored, a few weeks afterwards, Zimmer said maybe I could have had a better game plan. Maybe, duh, you should have had a game plan, not to thinking afterwards. Maybe I could have had a better one. McCarthy, at 10 o'clock tomorrow, he's went to 2 Super Bowls. He won one, 8, 10 wins or more seasons. He should be the new head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. If you took this offensive line and gave him to New England, they'd have no trouble going to a Super Bowl.
Thanks, Dan. No.
Okay.
I have no problem with your criticism and where you're going until you said that Mike McCarthy should be the head coach.
And the other thing too is
let's calm down.
And I guess he was quoting Terry Bradshaw about the Rams are the best record or the best team, but they're not the most talented.
Incredible talent.
Oh boy, I could not disagree more.
Yeah, Terry isn't. Yeah, they got a really good coach. They've got
Jared Goff is serious business, people. Okay, Todd Gurley is.
What about Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald and Dominican Sue, like the Rams are serious business. That offensive line, those receivers, even though, Cooper Kupp is out for the year, but
I appreciate where Dan is coming from, but Mike McCarthy.
The Vikings have talent, but they're not the most talented team.
We got to stop there. Mike McCarthy should. I get that right now a lot of Vikings fans are upset because they lost again tonight, but Mike McCarthy should not be
Mike
mentioned.
McCarthy is 4-7-1 this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he should not be
with Aaron Rodgers.
And we just saw him call a terrible game here. Phil in Plymouth, thanks for holding on. I appreciate it.
You bet. Hey, guys, thanks for taking our calls late on a Sunday.
Of course.
I appreciate it. There's a lot of disagreement and arguments that can go around with Vikings fans who to blame right now, especially on offense. Is it Kirk Cousins? Is it the O-line? Is it DiFilippo? Overall roster, is it more Spielman or Zimmer? But I want to just say one thing that I think all people can agree on, and that is that Troy Aikman is a moron, and I can't stand listening to him.
Do you like Joe Buck?
Well, Joe Buck's better, but
wow.
I know.
Wait, did a Vikings fan just hang on? Yeah. Hang on. Do we need like the breaking news sounder here? Did a Vikings fan actually say something positive about Joe Buck? I am in shock.
Yeah, he gets a little bit of a pass because his dad called that 91 Puckett home run. But Aikman today, we had to hear him on that clear pass interference for Thielen, which could be textbook like ref instructional video. The guy doesn't turn around, runs right into the receiver, impedes it, and grabs his arm. And then at the end of it, when they're just allowed to talk because it's kind of a blowout, they're just shooting the crap around, talking. And we get to hear about how great of a head coach Mike McCarthy is. Has Aikman watched the Packers last 3 years? We get to hear about how great of an offensive coordinator DiFilippo is.
Yeah,
when
I know
he's just been awful. It's like, Aikman, what have you been watching? But I just had 2 quick points that I just haven't observations that I haven't heard other Vikings fans really talk about yet.
Sure.
One, I think the Diggs kind of injury, I don't think he was completely healthy, and I do think it hurt us today. It seemed like the Patriots were pressing a lot and just did not think we could beat them deep. And I think if Diggs is healthy, they wouldn't be allowed to do that. I think that did hurt us. And while I think our defense played well for the circumstances, especially our injuries in secondary, it was a little disheartening to see the lack of pass rush. I think Brady got hit legitimately once, and it was that interception by Harrison Smith. I would like to see more of a pass rush. But I'll shut up and listen. I did want to end the call ridiculously with a bunch of slogans like PJ Fleck always does in interviews.
Go ahead.
So real quick, go Groves, Sky Umar, row the boat, go Vikings, Skol. This is how we baseball. Go Wild. All eyes north. Ow!
I love that phone call.
Well, our friend Pat in Golden Valley had a tweet earlier that he's hearing from his sources that the Packers have former NFL player PJ Fleck on the top of their list to replace McCarthy, which I thought was classic Pat in Golden Valley. So.
Joe Buck's better.
I can't believe that.
That's going to stay in the system. It's going to stay in the system. Yeah.
Why is Pat in Golden Valley not calling into tonight's show? That's my question.
Yeah.
And now, if anyone gets fired in the Division I college ranks or the National Football League, Pat suggests that Philip John is a candidate for the job.
Mm-hmm.
New Jersey is where we go next. George, you are the penultimate call on tonight's event line.
Hello, how you doing, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
Great.
So everyone, we're all talking about, offensive line play calling, which I totally agree with. That is definitely our biggest weakness. But one position that I'm just having a huge problem with this season is the linebackers. our linebackers in coverage have just been like horrid. That first drive that the Patriots had, that was all the linebackers. They just doing absolutely nothing. Anthony Barr is just jogging. Who knows what he's doing at this point? Because he's honestly playing injured. And then yeah, Eric Kendricks did have that interception, but I mean interceptions could just happen. That could be quarterback's fault. I just these linebackers, they're just not good. And then of course, another thing I want to bring up was the defensive line. In there are three big games that I just feel like they have not played well in. Being number one, the Saints, Bears, and this game, of course. I mean, just really not getting any pressure, like the call said before. Only getting like one quarterback hit. I mean, we're supposed to have like an elite D line, and we can't even hit Tom Brady more than once. And then I just bring up, I guess, one last thing about Kirk Cousins. Very mixed feelings about him. I don't hate him, but I don't love him. But I guess what he's doing isn't bad, but what he's doing isn't enough. And I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, George. Appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, I mean that. Well, for one, believe it or not, like even though Tom Brady doesn't quote unquote scramble well, like he's not going to mistake himself for Michael Vick or anything like that when he's running and scrambling. But he is still very hard to get to, Judd, because he is so good at when you do get pressure on him, he's so good at moving his feet and adjusting and just little subtle slide steps. And this is what we've talked about with Cousins that Cousins doesn't do.
He senses pressures.
Yeah. And I mean, and so it's hard to get to Tom Brady. So in the one or two chances in a game that you might have a chance to get to him, you got to cash in because he's a hard guy to get to, even though he's somewhat of a statue in the pocket in terms of just being able to run around. He's just so good with his footwork and moving around and everything.
Let's end tonight's event line program with one final call. We'll go to St. Paul and Blake. Blake, you're wrapping things up on Vent Line. Go ahead.
Woohoo! Okay, first of all, Joe Buck stinks. Let's get that point across.
I was waiting for
that.
that.
Now we're back to normal, huh? Yeah.
We got rebuttal.
All right, and all I gotta say is tonight I just came from the Whitecaps game where we got blown out 7-2. So I was really hoping the Vikings would cheer up tonight.
Boston, right?
Boston, indeed.
Amanda Kessel in town? Is that correct?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's a tough one. Tough loss for us. Okay.
So all I gotta say is watching the game tonight, and I'm watching that first drive during the hockey game, like the last caller said, why aren't the linebackers getting to that running back and at least stopping them in some way? And then, this has been, repeated throughout the night, so I'm just gonna make it simple. Dalvin Cook, I believe, finished 9 carries for like 90-some yards, and
9 carries, 84 yards.
Yes, I'm like, why don't you just keep feeding Cook screen passes, run plays, and set up for that medium to long range pass? And it felt like John DeFilippo was just like, you know what? Let's just go Tom Brady style and start, slinging the ball all over the place, not converting downs. I was really hoping this would be our key, catch up to the Bears. The Giants gift wrapped it a win today against the Bears. And I'm just very disappointed in the offensive play calling in the second half. I really thought we had a chance to win into the halftime, tying to 10-10. And it's just a crap way to end the night, and especially moving forward, facing the Seahawks, who obliterated the 49ers, and looking down the road, it's just like, do we have a chance for a wild card and playoff berth? So I'll hang up and listen here.
Thanks, Blake. Appreciate the phone call.
Yeah, I mean, the defense was not great tonight, but I'm not as concerned about the defense as I am about the offense.
The linebackers haven't been great.
No, they haven't.
Kendricks had the pick, but he has not had a great year.
Been very underwhelming, and Anthony Barr.
Barr's just been hurt.
Yeah,
but the defense is not your problem.
No,
the defense is getting off the field on third down. The drive that they gave up after it went 10-10 is extremely disappointing because I believe it only took 4 plays, and the Patriots came right back in those 4 plays and ran it down your throat. Rhodes was being spotted today. Waynes was hurt. I mean,
that's my concern with the defense.
If I'm not
right
mistaken, that the first of the 4 plays that we're talking about, or second of those 4 plays on the 17-10 scoring drive, was Josh Gordon, and you looked, and Marcus Sherrills was trying to defend him or trying to cover him, and he whiffed on a tackle.
Yeah.
But, when you're down to Marcus Sherrills and Holton Hill playing,
That's an injury problem.
You've
That's
got
an injury
problems.
issue. Yeah.
But, I firmly believe this conversation, Manny Hill, comes back to offense, and it comes back to the fact that what's going on with the play calling, and the play calling is troublesome, and there's a lot of blame to go around there. And a year ago, offensively, when Keenum took over, a lot of things went right for you, but the play calling was very, very good. And it's simply not now. And I don't know why. And I don't know why it can't get fixed. And fixing it for one game against a bad Packers team is not going to fix it.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at the statistics too. The Patriots ran the ball 39 times tonight. Now, later in the game, they were running the ball a lot and trying to run the clock down as teams. If you have a lead, that's what you're always trying to do, is just run the ball and run the clock out. But still, they were balanced offensively tonight.
Yeah,
and the Vikings just did not run the football, and we're at a point now where Mike Zimmer has got to step in and take more control of what's going on offense.
Or
right
it just
now
might be too late.
Yeah.
Viking Vetline is done. I'm Judd. Manny Hill, Jonathan Harrison producing, Ross Brendel, Declan Goff helping out behind the scenes. Thanks to all those who tuned in and all those who watched. TCL Broadcast Studios back tomorrow at 3 with Mackie and Judd. Thank you for all your phone calls and your venting.
Here's one down the field for Robinson.